Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Mint Personal Growth Lab. Mint, as you know, is a leading business publication from Hindustan Times, one of India's most respected news publishing houses. At Mint, we're committed to supporting your quest for growth. Our credo and tagline is Think Ahead, Think Growth. The Mint Personal Growth Labs is a series of conversations we designed with coaches and experts to help ignite your personal journeys of growth. I'm Anuradha Sehgal, Business Head Mint, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you Anand Sharma, Executive and Leadership Coach, who has been our coach for this series. Joining us also today is a very special guest, Vernon Sankey. Welcome, Vernon.
Thank you.
Vernon is a leadership coach and author. Um, he is the ex-global CEO of Reckitt Benckiser. He has served as a CEO, chairman, and board member across major international corporations, including Pearson PLC, Zurich AG, Atos SE, where he currently serves also as a board member, chairman of the Audit Committee, and board member of the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee. Throughout his career, Vernon has applied his cognitive psychology, NLP, EQ, and people skills to mentor senior executives, celebrities, and high profile men and women from many different walks of life in different stages of their career. In 2018, Vernon published a book called The Stairway to Happiness, which includes many of the techniques and lessons of cognitive psychology. And in 2019, he co authored with Miss Katie Lockwood a second book called The Way Finding Peace in Turbulent Times. Welcome, Vernon.
Thank you very much, Anuradha. I'm delighted to be here and delighted to be with my very good friend who I have huge time and respect for, which is Anand. So it's lovely to be together.
Uh,
Thank you, Anuradha and Vernon. And first of all, I must say that it is a huge honor and a privilege for me to be sharing the space with Vernon uh, because when I moved to the UK, in fact, he and his team they invited me to join Reckitt in '95. He was a global Reckitt and Coleman CEO. That time, I know him from that time onwards. But I must mention something here, apart from the qualifications and experience and achievements which Anuradha has mentioned. Whenever I had to present something to the global leadership team, and Varnam obviously was the chairing those meetings, I used to look forward to those presentations
Excellent.
because he made me feel psychologically and emotionally safe,
That's
which is
that.
not cannot be said about many bosses and many CEOs. They are out to catch you, whereas Vernon was out to catch me doing things right. So I always found him inspirational, and that is the reason I thought for the last session of our this series, let me reach out to Vernon and invite him. And he very kindly changed few of his meetings for us and for me particularly to be on this session. Grateful to you, Vernon.
Uh, Thanks, Anand, and thanks, Vernon, for being here.
You're
Today's,
welcome. You're absolutely welcome. Delighted to be here.
today's session is titled Let Go and Grow. Vernon, in the last 7 sessions, we've conversed on various aspects of growth. Uh, what does it really entail? What is a growth mindset? How do you balance exploiting your strengths and exploring new areas? What is the relationship between stress and growth? And finally, today we are here at the end of this series uh, talking about let go, letting go. What does that really mean? What are we? What is it that we have to let go in order to grow?
Well, it's a terrific question, and I love it. Incidentally, I've followed your the series, and I've really enjoyed them. I think there's been a pattern to them, and it's been very good advice all the way through. So letting go. I think the first thing we have to ask is letting go of what? What is it? What does that mean? Letting go of what? Well, some of them you've actually said in your previous series. You let go of limiting beliefs, and we'll come back to that. Letting go of fears, letting go of unhelpful emotions, And obviously fear is one of them, but envy, jealousy, anxiety, even rigidity, letting go of those, they think they're unhelpful to us, letting go of negativity, letting go of behaviors that are not useful for you. And many of these things are actually not good for your health. They're unhealthy. So we do things that are unhealthy, and we need to let go of those. And most important, we need to let go of the past. Now, that doesn't mean that everything that's happened in the past is useless. It's not. We have to draw the lessons from them and then move on. We have to let go of the negative aspects of the past. And I will explain to you how you do all of these things. And most importantly, you need to let go of ego. Ego, for me, is described as a false sense of self. So ego is like you described me very kindly with all these labels, you know, CSO, CEO, this and done that. They're just labels, right? They're all in the past. They're really meaningless in the context of what we're talking about now. They're meaningless. The experience has been useful, but in itself, they're just labels. Right? They're just labels. However, it'd be very easy to say, oh, I've done this and I'm a CEO and I'm that and I'm the other, right? That's ego. And it gets in the way of everything. People's ego needs to be understood. You'll never get rid of it, and we'll explain how you can handle this. It's always going to be there, but you need to let go of this false sense of self and be very aware of it. So letting go at the psychological level has all these elements which I've mentioned. At the spiritual level, we have to let go of the feeling that we can control everything. See, a lot of our anxiety and stress, and COVID has brought this out enormously, is we are striving to control everything. I have got to control this, control that, control people, control situations. It's an exercise in absolute futility because you can't control anything. The only things you can control are your own thoughts and your own actions right now, and it's gone, right now, and it's gone. Everything else is subject to other influences. So COVID's brought this out because you say, oh my goodness, you know, I don't even know whether I can go on holiday. What's going to happen tomorrow? Can I go shopping? Yeah, that's it. The world is impermanent. Let go of thinking that it isn't, because that is going to cause you so much stress. And you see in relationships, people try and control other people. They say, why would you want to do that? You cannot control them. Not only is that futile, but it's actually disrespectful. People are different. Enjoy the difference. And then we at the spiritual level, we constantly grasp, we attach ourselves to things. That attachment we need to let go of. In fact, it's this, you know, the first rule of, or the first noble truth of Buddhism is that the world is impermanent. And the second is that suffering is attachment. What did he mean? Exactly what I've said. It's exactly that. And then, so we need to remove all of those things at the psychological and spiritual level. So maybe I should stop there. So hopefully it's given some thoughts for reflection about what letting go actually means. And then we can come on to how do you then address these things? What do you do about them? Because until you've got rid of those and you understand those, very hard to grow. It's an uphill battle. All right. So if we want to grow, I mean, we'll have to decide, maybe we'll have that conversation. What do we mean by grow? Grow in what way? What do we mean? So we'll come back to that, but maybe I should stop there and then invite you or Anand to ask questions about it, or whatever.
I mean, you know, there's a whole list of, Vernon, all that you've covered of what you need to let go. My question then is, what do you need to hold on to? If all of this is to let go of, is there something that I need to hold on to? What is that?
The truth, who you are, your values, who you are. So one question I would ask you, and I'd ask the listeners and the viewers, is who are you? Who are you? Mm-hmm. So we talked about the labels. Are you your labels? Some people think they are. And that's why when they come to retirement, they turn their face to the wall because they have so associated themselves with this label, which is ego, incidentally, that when that stops, they stop. Ego has died, right? And you find often people carry on working, really working, and they've got all these accolades and so on, and then they come to retirement and they're completely lost because they've associated themselves with a label. So I'm not the label. So who are you? And some people say, well, I'm so and so. I'm Anuradha or I'm Vernon. I said, but that's just a name. That's just a name. So then they talk about what they do. So I look after people. I do this and I do that. And said, but that's just what you do. It's not who you are. It's really important if you want, because your question is great. What do I hold on to? Yeah, absolutely. Who are you? First, until you know who you are, it's going to be very hard to know what to hold on to. And we're talking about truth. We're talking about finding truth, finding real values, understanding who we are at the deepest level. Well, that is one of the gates to understanding what letting go to grow actually means. Now, I've asked this question to thousands of people. I very rarely get a proper answer because it requires a lot of reflection. There were two questions I'd ask that go with that. One is, who are you? The second is, what's the end game? What's the end game? What's it all about? Why are we here? Why is this world happening? Why? Well, it's not a rhetorical question. It's a very, very important question. What's it all about?
Sure.
And until we actually have a perspective on that, a view on that, we're just floundering. We're just swimming around with no idea where we're going. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Hence, total confusion in the world, complete confusion. We'll do this and we'll do that. Not a clue. Not a clue. The basics need to be understood first.
Anand, would you like to add to that? Your thoughts on that?
Actually, Vernon has covered so many different topics, right from your first question, what all we need to let go and what we don't need to let go. And I'm just, of listening to various concepts. If For me, and before I say for me, let me just give a health warning right in the beginning that whatever I'm going to say today is applicable to myself. It's not for others only because I need to let go of the need to fix others and let go of the need to make others happy, make let go of the need to make others grow.
What?
Because
Why? Anand, may I interrupt you? Why? Why do you need to let go of a need to help other people? Why do you need to let go of your desire to fix things? Can you
so
just explain why you need to, why do you need to let go?
I think before I answer the why, let me explain what do I mean by uh, feel the need for me to fix others or help others. What I mean is I will keep doing whatever I need to do to help others, not fix others, but help others, be of use to others, but out of detachment. When we get detached to the outcome, that is when our misery starts. Because we cannot control, as you mentioned, Vernon, before, we cannot control others. We can control ourselves. So when we do everything from the place of detachment, not getting detached to the outcome, then we get peace. And when we become peaceful, we become settled. That is the vibration we give to others. And then we become the change that we want others to be. So that is what I mean. It is not about me, that I need to feel fulfilled to help others. No, I can feel fulfilled anyway, but from a place of detachment. Because one of the core um causes of pain, suffering is attachment to the outcome. We want to change the behavior of others. We want to change others. We want to fix others. But it is all about us because we can only change ourselves. Otherwise, we can be here till eternity and wait for others to change. Let me give an example.
Anand,
If you could,
before you go there, I just want you to, I'm talking to two super achievers, CEOs, who are talking about detachment, who are talking about, you know, answering a deep sense of self inquiry about what's the end game, who are you. We're talking about growth for a lot of us, for all of us. We want to grow in our jobs, in our careers, in our businesses, in our relationships. We're in the thick of the game, as you would call it. I'm not implying that, but I'm looking at two people who played that game rather well. And I just want to, make sure you tell us what it takes to win and grow in whichever game that we are playing right now. Would you still advocate detachment, Anand? And Vernon, as you grew in your career, as you went on to become the global CEO, did you also go along that journey with this sense of deep self-inquiry of who are you and what was your end goal at every step of that journey?
Yeah.
I think, sorry, Adam, go ahead.
No, no, go. Well, look, you're absolutely right. And the journey is the thing that matters. So Anand is completely right. Most of us assume, and because part of it is this grasping, this need, we're going from task to task, job to job, activity to activity. And we're so imbued with that. I have got to get to so and so. And time is dictating to us what we do, right? I've got to get there by then. I've got to do this by that. And then we actually forget to live. We're not living anymore. What we're doing is we're rushing from one activity to another activity. And then we go, oh, and then the next one, and then the next one. Right? That is not growth. That is
Mm-hmm.
activity. Right? Now, some people will call it growth because one of the questions I've put down is what do we mean by growth? And a lot of
Right.
people, as you have raised, just say, well, it's wealth, it's career, it's influence, it's control, it's being who I am, and accolades and degrees, and that's growth. And I'm saying, no, it isn't. That is
Mm-hmm.
the end game. So if you imagine a dance, the objective of a dance is not to get to the end. The objective of a dance is to enjoy the dance, nothing else. If all you're interested in is the end game as the end piece of a dance, then all we do is get the partner and rush off to the end. Right? That isn't what a dance is. Similarly, if you listen to a nice piece of music, a concert, you're not waiting and rushing to the finale. Otherwise, all we'd have in a concert is a crashing thing as a great big finale, right? You're not. You're enjoying the whole thing. And as you enjoy the dance and as you enjoy the music, what is it that you're thinking about? What is it that's important? The enjoyment of a journey. That's all it is. Now, life should be seen as the dance, or as the music, or as water. It is as it is. And we spend too much time rushing around for the outcome. So if you want to actually understand what to grow, what do I want to grow as? I want to grow as a human being. I want to grow my humanity, my humaneness. You explained already this morning, you look after stray dogs, right? That is part of
Mm-hmm.
being human. It's nothing to do with your job.
Mm-hmm.
It's humaneness. I want to grow my humanity. I want to raise my level of consciousness. What does that mean? So I want to realize that the world is much, much greater than anything I could possibly imagine, that we're all connected. We are
Mm-hmm.
all connected, whether we like it or not. And quantum physics has demonstrated the interconnectedness and interrelatedness of each of us. This was known years and years ago, but the scientists said, no, it doesn't exist because they couldn't prove it. Quantum has shown that actually that's exactly it. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That's really important, because if our perspective on life is a negative one, then that's how it'll turn out. And that's exactly what happens with quantum observations. However, if you change the way you look at it, it changes too. How did that happen? There's no logical explanation except that that is what happens. And so where else? I want to grow in understanding and wisdom. I want to grow ultimately in what's called non-dual love, because everything in the end is about love. So all the emotions that we have are illusions. Fear, anxiety, they're all illusions, right? They're imaginations of the mind. All the things that we do which raise our level of consciousness are to do with love. Compassion is an element, it's a manifestation of love. Kindness is a manifestation of love. And by non-dual, I mean it's a perfect love. Dual love is love-hate. So you'll see couples and they say, oh, I love you. And then a week later, they've had a row. They say, oh, I hate you. Right? That is not non-dual. That is dual love. It's got love and hate. Non-dual love is absolute. It has no opposite. And in the end, that is the only truth. Now, when I start to try and discover that through meditation, through observation of ego, I then find I'm starting to change as a person. My humanity is raising. So as we said before, at the moment, the world is sort of suffering from Bronze Age thinking with postmodern technology. Our thinking hasn't evolved. So everybody's trying to change the outside world. All governments are trying to change this. If only I change that, I put more of these, I put more of those. And this ism is better than that ism, and this doctrine is better than that doctrine, and this dictatorial type approach is better than that dictatorial. And actually, all they're doing is looking at place. They're looking to change the deck chairs on the Titanic. They're on the wrong boat. They're on the wrong boat. Until you move into the right boat and change the boat, all you're doing is shifting around. You're looking at the wrong place. You can't change. And so people will constantly be stressful if all they're going to get from growth is I'm going to be wealthier, I'm going to be more powerful, I'm going to have more influence. All I say is, great, but you will never, ever find happiness. You will never, ever find contentment, because you don't need all those things for that. So in my career, I never asked for a promotion. I never asked to move. I never asked for more money, ever. Never did it. I understood, obviously, all the plans we were doing, but the financial results were not the most important thing to me. The most important thing to me was the coherence and the harmony of people. In order to encourage them to give it their best, the result will take care of itself. I never looked at the share price. And of course, you have to deliver the numbers. Of course, you have to deliver the numbers. But that is the end result of something quite different, which is about inspiring, motivating, helping, encouraging. That's what drove me. Now, I didn't understand that in the terms that I now understand it. Right? So having done so much more studying now, and I have a colleague I work with called Katie Lockwood, who's very spiritual. And when I wrote the first book, it only had four sections to it. So they had 4 sections of happiness. Instant gratification, happiness of achievement, happiness of giving, and happiness of relationships. And I showed it to her, and she said, well, it's all right, but it's missing something. And I kept saying, what's it missing? What's it missing? Right? I got quite irritated. This is a work of art, I thought. And she said, well, you haven't really got enough of a spiritual dimension. And I said, what on earth's that? Right? And then she started explaining to it. And I said, actually, that's what I've been doing. She said, well, why don't you write it down? And the 5th chapter is the happiness of harmony. It's your relationship to universal truth, universal existence. Now, until you get to that, you haven't really understood what you're doing. And as a result, we then wrote together the second book, which is The Way Finding Peace in Turbulent Times. And the irony is that we talk in the book, in page 4, actually, about pandemic, that we wrote this before anything to do with COVID. But it could have been anything. You know, there were several things that we talked about why there were so many problems in the world, and the pandemic, the risk of a pandemic was one of them, along with a lot of others, right? Because until we change the way of thinking, this is going to repeat itself. This is going to continue. Right? However, each time it's going to get worse because we're still using Bronze Age thinking, but our technology is becoming more and more and more powerful. So the mistakes of ego which existed 1,000 years ago are very different from the implications of the mistakes that we make today. And the ones we can make tomorrow are catastrophic. Look at climate change. Everything that you see outside is a reflection of our internal thinking. Everything. So climate change is the result of us wanting energy, air conditioning, cars, flying, right? That's us. We've caused that. If you look at the polluted oceans, that is the result of us being extremely greedy. We want stuff that we can throw away. We want it cheap. We want it now, right? Do you need any of this? When I look at my grandchildren and the things that they enjoy at Christmas, we've got these big toys. Actually, the box is of more fun than the plastic toy inside. We have more fun opening the thing than we do playing with it, right? You don't need all this stuff. So when we talk about growth, I'm talking about growth of a spiritual nature. And the point is, it's not airy-fairy, because that makes me much more effective. I can be much more efficient, much more effective, much happier to be around, much better relationship, much happier with my family who I adore, and I have time to do that, as well as all the other things. So why wouldn't you want to do that? We're looking in the wrong place. If you're looking for wealth, success, your career advancement, great, but you'll never get all these other things, and the other things are so much more important. So look at the dance, look at the concert, enjoy the journey. The journey is everything. It's not in the past, it's not in the future, it's now. Enjoy now. And when you really enjoy now and ask yourself, what's missing? The answer is nothing. Nothing.
I think I can listen to Vernon forever. It is absolutely fascinating.
This is fascinating, but I'm all I'm trying to see is this something that you realize? You say, you realize that you did these things without being aware, or what is it that the consciousness angle of your existence, of your endeavors? Yeah. What is it that you were, and if you were to start over again, if you were to, start all over again, and for those of us who are currently in the game, looking to succeed, looking to have better, more fulfilling careers, businesses, relationships, what is it that is it about applying these principles would naturally lead to more of that? Or is
okay,
it?
well, I'll try and answer, because you're looking for specifics. You're looking for detail, right? And I'm going to give you some detail, but please see the detail in the big picture, because it's the big picture which is much more important than the detail. But I'll give you some specific, because this is the sort of you're needing the logical piece rather than necessarily the intuitive and creative piece, right? But we'll cover both, right? So what would I do differently? The answer is not very much. But what I would do is I would probably spend more time sooner on things like meditation, without question. Right? It is really important. Why is that so important? Because you'll only really understand these things properly in quiet, in peace, in silence. Right? Silence and listen are anagrams of each other, as you may know. And listening to your inner soul, listening to who you are, observing what's happening in your mind is one of the best ways of actually raising your level of consciousness. Now, people make the mistake of saying, I ought to be better. And I have people come to me for counseling and they say, I want to be a better person. And I say to them, well, show me the person that currently exists. Show me, bring me the person. And of course they say, well, I can't. I say, well, what do you mean by a better person? You've already created a conflict in your own mind between who you are and this other person. So we've had two people here. There's one talking to the other, is there?
Mhm.
Why can't you just be? Your true nature is fine. Your true nature is absolutely fine. Grasping for something, trying to do something else is self-defeating. That's why it's a little bit of a question I was asking Anand, which is, why does he need to let go of a need to fix people? Right? Well, it's a very, very good question. And people come to me and say, I need to let go of things like that, which are good things, right? And say, well, when you really think about it, in the end, I am who I am. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem I've got, and maybe it's causing me some stress, is to think that there's something wrong with the good things I'm doing. That's who I am. I am that. I am that. And
Vernon, may
I mean, I'm only using that as an example, but people feel that they need to keep doing something to improve this, to improve that. And once they realize that actually there's no need to do that, just be, you will find that by just being, you will do all those things. You know, the sage, one of the sage, Suzuki, was asked, what does it feel like? So this really is starting to answer some of your questions here. What does it feel like to have this awareness? What does it feel like, and in what way are you different from the normal? And the reply was, everything is exactly the same as it normally is. It's just that I'm 6 inches off the ground. And that is the feeling. That is how we feel about it. So what do we need to do? First of all, don't look outside for solutions, look inside yourself. When you are thinking that this needs to be done differently, this needs to be done differently, just look at yourself. Observe your ego. So you can only do that really in meditation. If you understand who you are and you observe your ego and you catch yourself, am I saying this or doing this or thinking of doing this for egotistic reasons? Stop. So knowing yourself, being aware of who you are, is absolutely fundamental. Now, I didn't understand this when I was going through my career, but what I did understand was that I was totally dependent on the people around me.
Mhm.
So as a CEO, you get an impression from outside that the CEO can do whatever, right? The answer is it can do very little, totally, very, very little. They're utterly dependent on the qualities and the capabilities of people around them. So you then say, well, then I better get the best people. How often does that happen? Most people are frightened of getting good people because they're frightened of what that might do to their career. I can't have that person, it might be better than me. Whereas actually the attitude should be, I hope they are better than me. I want people who are better than me. Throughout my career, and I was asked to run Scandinavia when I was 29 years old, right? How could I possibly do that? It was a mistake from the HR department to ask me to do it anyway. I think they thought I had much more experience than I had. I had no experience at all. And there I was with a factory, with sales forces. They were all much better than me. And so I said, hold on, I need to understand this. Can you explain it to me? Show me what you're doing. Show me. I mean, I'd say, well, could it be done this way or could it be done that way? And why wouldn't it be? And just by asking those questions, people started to shift. I didn't say anything. I didn't say, oh, that looks very strange. I don't know. I'd say, would there be another way of doing this? Is there and then maybe these, what can you teach me? And throughout my career, I was surrounded by absolutely brilliant people. And I went to them and I said, explain to me what you're doing. Tell me what you're doing. Now, I didn't realize that that is a form of suppression of ego, because it's so easy to say, well, I know the answer, and make catastrophic mistakes. And I can't think of one single decision I ever made, all the way up to CEO, which wouldn't have been, which wasn't significantly changed by the interactions with other people. If I'd done it on my own, I would have made a terrible mistake. And I remember once I had they said we need to do a new strategy, and I was getting frustrated. So I wrote this new strategy, fantastic, Vision 2020, and I held it up, and I was thinking I'd get a huge acclaim. It's a bit the same error I made with the book, my first book. I thought this is brilliant, and somebody comes along, and anyway, I got very little reaction. I thought, why is that? And somebody came to me and said, well, Vernon, have you thought you wrote it? I said, well, yeah, of course. He said, you wrote it. That's the problem. That's the problem. And I thought, oh my goodness, yeah, I haven't brought anybody along with it. So however brilliant it might have been, it was utterly useless. Right? The growth came there from realizing you've got to bring people along. So I publicly had the meeting and I tore it. I tore this document in front of everybody and said, we're going to start again. And you're going to do it. You're going to build it. Now that made all the difference. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about not blaming, taking responsibility, listening to other people, not needing to be right. On the contrary, the vulnerability of not being right is so attractive compared to say, oh, I know the answer to this. I know. What do you mean? I mean, I look at our politicians with COVID. This is really trend out. They say, oh, we've got to do this. We've got it oven ready. We're ready to go. And say, come on, be real. You haven't a clue. Just say it. I haven't a clue. So if you look at what Jacinda Ardern has done in New Zealand, she's much more open. Every day she's open. She says, I don't know what. Here's a fact. This is what I think we should do. This is what I'll do. So you understand, everybody's in the same boat here. We don't understand, but we're sharing something. That is so much more effective. And the leadership from that is so much greater. So you've got role models that you can follow. That's one way of developing your career. You can learn about ego, observe that. You can do meditations. You can understand how you change behavior, because you can change behavior, you don't change behavior. You can understand how you change thinking, alternate your thinking. You can look at, you can increase your awareness. You can awaken yourself to new truths. And that leads you to a new way of living, which is so much more relaxed. In Zen, it's called Wu Wei. Wu Wei means not doing. So if you if you read Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, he says, the master does nothing, but leaves nothing undone. Mm-hmm. Well, you have to think about that, but it's exactly what I've been talking about. Do nothing, but you leave nothing undone. So in my board position now, when I've got different things, people come to me and say, what should I do? And I say, I haven't a clue. And they'll say, what do you mean? And they look surprised. I say, you look surprised. And they say, well, why do you look surprised? And they say, well, because you've got these titles. I said, well, they're just titles. And they say, oh, but aren't you well, they're just titles. And then they say, well, maybe I should talk to Joe. Maybe I should set up a meeting. Maybe I should. I say, oh, great. Absolutely. Absolutely. They found their own solution. So helping people find their own solution is so much more powerful. We learn from our mistakes. We make mistakes all the time, but we have to make those mistakes. That's how we learn. Wonderful. And the guide is the guide to help find that. So, I would say, so in trying to help people, I say, don't mistake the finger for the moon. The finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. It's the guide. Maybe I should stop here. But I mean, these are, once you get into things like that, even the concept of nirvana is misunderstood. Nirvana means breathing out. That's letting go. I'm letting go of all these unnecessary anxieties. I don't need any of them. They're all ego-based. I don't want any of that. compassion, kindness, listening, respect for other people, respect for yourself. But respect for yourself meaning I know who I am, not I'm better than anybody else. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm the same as anybody else. But I respect that. That's what's called loving yourself. You're loving yourself, not in the sort of narcissistic way, but I am comfortable with who I am. I'm comfortable with making mistakes. I'm comfortable with saying I make mistakes. But I'm perfectly happy to be assertive, but assertive is not aggression, nor is it shyness. It's in the middle. Again, if you go back to Buddhism, that's a middle path, right? That's a middle way. So there's a lot of different religions. Incidentally, I'm very steeped in Hinduism. Satchitananda is very much a representation of what I'm talking about here. But you'll find it also in Buddhism, you'll find it in Zen, and you'll find it in the Gnostics. You'll find it pretty well everywhere when you go away from the labeling and the dogma. Underneath all that, I mean, the Upanishads are fantastic. The Bhagavad Gita is a wonderful piece of work. These are wonderful pieces of work. And if you read underneath on what they're saying, that's what they're saying. This is exactly it. What Buddha did is he made it less complicated, because in those days he didn't write down things, and so it's more memorable, so he made it simpler. It's very sound. This is all it is. That's why, you know, before we started, and Anand and I were saying, well, you know, we're really frauds here, we're phonies here, because what we're teaching is so simple. But the simplicity, of course, belies the fact that we have covered our ego with this conditioning. We have got so much conditioning that I guess as counselors, we spend a lot of time removing the conditioning. And then you suddenly realize the light was always there. The light was always shining. It's always been there. You don't have to change anything. Get rid of this conditioning.
Yeah. Vernon, yes. Sorry, you were to say something, Anuradha?
No, I want to pull you in. What is it that, you know, your thoughts on letting go? What would you, I mean, Vernon has just expanded that beyond what I could have ever imagined we were setting ourselves up for today.
Yeah.
Is there
For
something
me,
you want to let go? Is there something, does this, you know, you've been a master, a practitioner, but yet does this strike you as, you know, you having to let go of something? Does this inspire you to let go of something today?
yes. First of all, for me today, my desire was to let go of my desire to speak. So I'm trying to listen and be present to the master. So that is because that would have been my desire to get detached, to attached, that I know. Therefore, that is attachment I was talking earlier. So getting detached to that. Let me bring here a story of a monkey. It's a story. I don't know whether it is true or not, but I was told that story and it has stayed with me forever. It's a story of a tribe in some part of the world, how they used to catch monkeys when they were there to destroy the crop. So they used to have a vessel full of peanuts with a narrow opening and stick that vessel on the floor or on the tree trunk or wherever. So monkey will come and put the hand this way to go inside the vessel, hold the peanuts, and then will not let go of the peanuts. And therefore, that monkey was stuck there in that vessel, and that is how they were caught. If that monkey had let go of the peanuts, he would have been free. So that story has stayed with me. So the question is, what are my peanuts?
Mm-hmm. Right.
What are my greeds? Vernon talked about many, many, many things. The ego, one of the biggest peanut we have got. I am right. The affliction of righteousness, right? And many other things which Vernon talked about. The fear, the fear that if I let go of the peanut, oh gosh, I will have nothing to eat. But that is short term versus long term. So we don't need to be monkeys and chimpanzee. We have a chimpanzee mind. Scientists say that's how from where we came from reptilians to mammalians and now the cognitive mind. So we don't need to be monkeys and recognize in that story that we need to let go of our peanuts, uh, small stuff. Don't live the small life, live a bigger life. Uh, Create a space for others. When you create a space, how do you create a space? You let go of your existing story. If there is a painting come which is brought to you and somebody says paint on this painting, what do? First paint it white or whatever the background color you want to have, and then you create what you want to create. So letting go to my mind is a process of creation. It's a creativity. So when you let go, you have an opportunity to create whatever you want to create. The creativity is the joy, the happiness, the peace of mind. You ask, what do you hold on to? To my mind, hold on to happiness, peace. Let go of the pain. Don't make pain pretty.
I mean, well,
So,
if I can add to that, Anand.
can I just finish this,
Yeah,
Vernon,
yeah,
please?
of
Please,
course.
yeah,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you.
Of course,
No,
yeah.
no, that's okay. Yeah, yeah. So, therefore, you have to hold on to your self love, hold on to self care, hold on to unconditioned love, hold on to your values, hold on to your dreams and vision. So, that is the things to worth holding on, but let go of those peanuts. Those peanuts is a metaphor, obviously. For example, the hurt. People hurt us. We feel angry. We feel resentment. How difficult it is to forgive. If we let go of the hurt by forgiveness, then you become free. You get freedom. Now, the question is I have a friend, a Greek lady. The other day I was talking to her, and her mother wasn't, she has a narration that her mother wasn't very good to her in childhood. I said, why don't you forgive her? And she said, oh, she's not worth it. Now, that is the main point. We think others are not worth our forgiveness, but the paradigm shift is, are we worth forgiving others? It's like a steel hook. If you insert in your abdomen and tug it every time, you get the pain. So letting go of that steel hook from your abdomen is basically letting go of the toxicity which is pumping in yourself, and then you become free to, you create a space for yourself, you create a space for feeling inner joy, inner peace, and that is possible if you recognize your feelings. The psychologists, neuroscientists, and neurophysicians are telling us that if you want to get rid of anything, all these things we talked about are feelings. You can't get rid of the thoughts. The best way to get rid of the thoughts are become aware of your feelings of inadequacy, feeling of anger, upset, hurt, uh, resentment, jealousy, fear. Mere awareness of those feelings, just mere awareness of those feelings will take not thousand thoughts connected with each feeling, but millions of thoughts which are connected with each feeling. Because our mind is nothing but basically an organ which is there to basically feel through. And then when you accumulate many feelings, you generate many millions of thoughts. One feeling can generate millions of thoughts. So if you get rid of the feeling, you get rid of many thoughts. So let go of the feelings. Focus on the feelings. Now, how do you get rid of the feelings? How do you let go of the feelings? Just shine light on those feelings. Become aware of those feelings. Be conscious of those feelings. And that is the consciousness which Buddha talked about and when I mentioned quite a bit quite about Buddha. Become aware of those feelings. You shine the light on those feelings. You get from a unconscious state or semi-conscious state to a conscious state, a state of awareness, state of consciousness. And then your memory, hippocampus in the brain, where the memory stores, those memories are the memories of thoughts. You change one feeling, you can change millions of thoughts. So therefore, to my mind, letting go of the judgments, letting go of being righteous, that is the way. It reminds me, I'll just quickly finish after I very quickly tell the story of two monks, because Vernon has brought me into that spiritual side and monks and Zens and whatever. There were two monks. One was an old monk and another was a young monk. They were going through a special process of, as per their monastery, wherein they were not to see, talk, interact with any women or any worldly things.
Mhm.
So they were passing through a jungle and it started to rain very badly. And then along the way, they found a river. And on that river bank, it was becoming more and more flooded. They saw a woman standing that she wanted to cross to the other side. The younger monk ignored that woman, but she was desperate to cross to the other side before rain became a deluge and became, uh, you know, put herself into danger. But the older monk picked up that woman and crossed the river because the water was not yet that high above the waist and put her on the other side. So both monks continued on their path. Woman went away. And when they reached the monastery, the younger monk said to the older monk, very angrily, with a lot of upset, "Oh, you have destroyed the vow of today of our monastery. We were supposed to not touch a woman, and here you lifted her, carried her with you, and you have destroyed the whole thing." So the monk said, with a lot of love, compassion, and gentleness to the younger monk, he said, "I left that woman an hour ago. You are still carrying her with you." So that is the point. We get stuck in our lives and we carry those hurts, those angers with us, not for 1 hour, 2 hour, days and months and years. My boss said that, my husband said that, my girlfriend, my boyfriend said that, that happened, that happened. We live the past and therefore do not let go of the past and claim the present and the future. The Dalai Lama said beautifully, he said, everybody talks about disarmament. The world should disarm themselves with nuclear bombs and whatever. He said, first disarm yourself. So we are in the way. So we have to remove ourselves out of the way, and that is what is ego. I've made way for Vernon.
No, very good, Anand. I love that story. It's a wonderful story. It's Zen the Zen the Zen stories are extremely valuable because they always point to something, and it's very important to get the lessons. We actually have done a number of meditations, which are recorded meditations, and we use a number of the stories as well. as well as hypnotherapy techniques. So to really, what do we need to do in order to let go? Right. Well, first of all, start to shift your thinking. So from this is an inimical world where I'm on my own and I'm having to fight my corner all the time, to actually I'm in a world which is actually a very friendly world where we're all connected and interrelated. So change that thinking first of all. And whenever you catch yourself saying, oh my goodness, if only they could do this, or why is it like that? Just say, hold on, there's probably a good reason why it's like that, and look at it positively. So change negativity into positivity. Change negative thoughts. Catch yourself with a negative thought before it actually does any harm, and make it then a positive. And then say to yourself very frequently two things. One is, it doesn't really matter, because 99.9% of the time, it really doesn't matter. And then say to yourself, you know, why is life, why have we got this life? And life has got to be worth living. I need to live a life, right? So get over it. We say to people, oh, get over it. You know, get with it. Get rid of this hang up. Just enjoy life. Life is there to be lived. And as you said, I think in one of the previous sessions that you had, we take ourselves far too seriously. And often, if you see Buddhas, you often see Buddhas with a great big grin on his face. You know, he's sort of a laughing Buddha. And the reason is because he's laughing at the stupidity of human beings who are taking themselves so utterly seriously. Right? There's no need for any of that. So, next thing is meditate. Go into meditation. Observe your ego. You will never get rid of it, right? And the purpose is not to get rid of anything. It's to observe it. As Anand has said, throw light on it. If you have your feelings, throw light on them. As soon as you observe something, it loses its strength. Right? So if somebody's let you down, you feel really, really bad about it. You observe, where in my body is it happening? Is it my tummy? Is it my heart? So if it's a romantic thing, it'll be in my heart, can be in my head with headaches. And then just observe it. And then as you observe it and you throw light on it, say, oh well, and it loses its strength. Ego needs conflict, all right? Ego needs conflict to survive. If you don't allow it to have conflict, because you say, oh, okay, I understand how that's happening. Oh, it's just ego again, right? You will reduce its strength. Ego needs conflict. And so there are a lot of these techniques which you can use, but in the end, it comes back to the start, which is I've got to think differently. The world is not what I think it is. It's actually a huge, massive energy ball, which where we are all part of it. We are manifestations of this energy. So Einstein, you see, he understood this. The scientists, the really good scientists, understood all this. Why? Because when we try to explain things, to start with, we're trying to explain it with words. The problem with words is words are man-made. They're form as opposed to formless. And so there's a huge limitation to what we can do with words. And so they try and explain these things with words and realize they can't do it. So they go to the next language, which is mathematics. And the language of mathematics is much more advanced, much more advanced. So if you look at all the algorithms that take place now, they're trying to explain things and they explain them through mathematics. And Einstein got to that and got to relativity and he got to particle physics and he was acclaimed as an absolute genius, which he was. And he realized, oh my goodness, this is such a tiny, tiny fraction of what there is out there. Tiny fraction. There's a huge energy and intelligence out there which is beyond description. So he said, and he wrote, the scientist's religious feeling takes the form of a rapturous amazement at the harmony of natural law, which reveals an intelligence of such superiority that compared to it, all the systematic thinking and acting of a human being is an utterly irrelevant reflection. This feeling is the guiding principle of his life and work, insofar as he succeeds in freeing himself from the shackles of selfish desire. It is, without question, akin to that which possessed the religious sages of all time.
Yeah,
Uh,
Einstein. Go ahead.
we finished 1 hour of conversation. This has just been the most amazing. I could go on and on, Vernon. I could listen to you.
Well,
And I
please, please read the books, because it's a lot in there, and we've got meditations, we've got videos, we're developing courses in order to help people through this journey. Because the more people can then understand what to do and how to do it, the happier they're going to be. We don't need any of this nonsense. We really don't. We really don't.
one, are there any meditation resources that you would like to point towards for us?
Well, we're not quite ready yet. But I mean, I'm very happy to share 2 or 3 with you so that you can see. I mean, we are trying to, in order to try and help allow people to make their own changes, we are putting in hypnotherapy techniques in there, so that, and hypnotherapy is self-hypnosis, right? So most people think it's somebody doing something to you. It's not. You're doing it to yourself. You're being guided to do it to yourself. But it is incredibly effective in allowing you to see the world somewhat differently. So all the things we've been talking about are in meditations, can be done through meditation, through reading, and then we're developing a course, but it's not ready yet. And we've got another book coming out on managing toxicity, and I'm being asked, every day, hurry up, get it out. But there's, and we're having a great deal of fun doing all of it. But I'll let you know about those. At least if they start with a book, the course is a book translated into practical work. So
We
there'll
look
be
forward
modules, and we'll have them online and so on.
we,
But have
we
a look
look
at our
forward to
website.
that.
We've got quite a lot on there. Sorry.
We look forward to that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for an absolutely amazing, insightful, magical conversation today with all that you've shown light on. Anand, before we go, is there, Vernon, in our tradition is to ask, after all of that we learn, we're still greedy. We ask for a growth hack at the end of a session. So, Anand, I'm going to ask you for a growth hack, and Vernon, then I'm going to come back and ask you for a growth hack very quickly before we go. Is there one last gem that you would like to share with us, Anand, very quickly?
Let go of the peanuts. Travel light. Let go of the peanuts.
Travel light.
Be free. Travel light.
Travel light is beautiful. Vernon.
Be like water. Now, water, when you look at water, it's very gentle and very soft, and you can't grasp it. The more you try and grasp it, the less you can get it. But water can be incredibly powerful too. Water sits below in order to flow to the ocean. Why does it sit below? Because it is more humble than what is above it. It goes round flexibly. It flows naturally. It has no hang-ups. It goes naturally to its eternal source, which is the ocean. You are the ocean. What happens on the top is every day is the peanuts that Anand's talking about, right? The storms and the bits and the calm and this. But deep down, it's calm. That's who you are. Be like water.
That's absolutely beautiful. Travel light and be like water. Realize who you really are. Enjoy who you really are. Enjoy the journey. You are perfect as you are. In order to grow, what you really need to do is let go of the limiting beliefs that you're not enough. Let go of that and enjoy the journey. Wherever you are is where you're meant to be. Respect the world, change your views towards the world. You're part of a magical, beautiful energy system. Respect its intelligence as much as you need to respect your own. and you will find yourself growing in the way that is truly meaningful. That is my learning from this. There's so much more. I think I'm going to go back and listen to this conversation again. I cannot thank you enough, Anand, for being our mentor and our coach for this series. On behalf of Mint and all our viewers, thank you very, very much for bringing all your wisdom and knowledge and your wonderful circle of friends and mentors and coaches to enlighten us. Vernon, thank you so much for joining us today. It was absolutely magical to have you.
Thank you very much. You're very sweet and very generous. Thank you. And thank you,
Thank
Anand,
you.
for inviting me.
The pleasure is entirely mine. Thank you, Vernon, for making time and illuminating so many new things for us. Anuradha, for me, it has been a total pleasure. Today is the last and the eighth part of the webinar. I think I got much more out of this than I thought I would, because in the process of creating this series, preparing, planning, contemplating, reflecting, writing, challenging myself, I think I'm not the person I was when I started this series a month and a half ago. I have uh, learned so much from so many different things, because for me it was a self inquiry, challenging myself, and unbecoming many things which I don't want them to be. And unlearning is one of the biggest things we have to let go, because if we want to create a space, we have to create, we have to become empty, and the fullness that we feel among ourselves, we have to let go of that fullness and become empty. So that has been my journey, and I'm going to continue on this my self journey and sharing with others. And thanks for creating this platform for me. And rather, it was your inspired idea when we were talking, and you said, "Oh, let's do this series." So the credit for the courage and having faith uh, on me and my other colleagues I brought in goes entirely to you. It was your inspiration and your inspired idea, and you. It was a brave decision from your part to get us in.
No, thank you so much. And viewers and readers of Mint, thank you so much. I didn't take some of the questions, but everyone who joined in, because I thought, those questions were covered by our speakers. But thank you once again, and wish you all growth as always.
Excellent. And thank
Thank
you,
you.
all the readers and viewers, everybody. Thank you, Anuradha. Thank you, Vernon. And uh,
Thank you.
Till next time.
next time. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.